Did you know that China military is collapsing?
The Chinese Central Military Commission Political Work Conference took place in Yan'an, Shanxi, from June 17th to 19th. Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Chinese Communist Party, President of China, and Chairman of the Central Military Commission, attended the meeting and delivered an important speech. At the meeting, Xi Jinping emphasized the need to implement the new era's political military strategy, ensuring strong political support for the military. According to a leaked internal speech from the conference, Xi Jinping said, "We are here in Yan'an to hold a military meeting preparing for a civil war. And the war has started, and if we do not respond with war, our party and government will go bankrupt."
Where's the source of this? Well, they go back to the point there's no source. They don't have to add any source. They don't show any document. Just add some English words and that's it.
His words caused tension and fear among the officers present. While these statements were meant to intimidate military leaders, they also revealed Xi's deep sense of anxiety. Despite a 2017 directive from the Central Military Commission demanding absolute loyalty to Xi, the military's top ranks might not have fully complied. There is a notable...
They don't need to demand. That's how it works in China since the end of the revolution in 1949.
Split between those loyal to Xi and those resisting his authority.
Yes, this also
Facing
happens.
Internal crises and growing domestic unrest, the Chinese Communist...
Domestic unrest. Do you have any source, any image, anything to show there's a domestic unrest in China?
Party, CCP, is at a critical juncture, the most dire in its 70-year rule. Xi realizes that survival now depends on military action rather than the traditional methods of control. For Xi Jinping, taking full control of the military is urgent. He fears that regional military forces might clash with the central government before any conflict with Taiwan begins.
This will never happen in China because the military answers to Xi Jinping. There is no fight. There's no fight in this topic inside China. They'll never question.
Leading to nationwide chaos. Signs of this potential conflict are becoming apparent. 10 days after Xi's speech at the military conference on June 27th, the CCP's Politburo announced the expulsion of former defense ministers Li Shangfu and Feng Weihe from the party and handed them over to military prosecutors. Both were stripped of their military ranks and titles. This is the first time in CCP history that two former defense ministers were expelled from the party on the same day. Many believe that, although Li Shangfu and Wei Fenghe will likely be convicted of corruption and imprisoned for life, their actual downfall was due to Xi's perception of their disloyalty. Ironically, both were appointed by Xi Jinping and were considered his trusted aides.
If I'm not wrong, they were removed from work last year, and there has been some investigations regarding a leak of some documents from the missile division to United States. The guy who was the ambassador for China in the United States is also arrested. So that's the main reason here in China. I'm living in China, so that's the main reason here that people are saying that's why those guys were removed from the party as well.
On November 23rd, 2012, just 1 week after becoming the chairman of the Central Military Commission, Xi Jinping promoted Wei Fenghe, then a member of the Military Commission and commander of the 2nd Artillery Corps. Wei was promoted to the rank of general. Wei was Xi Jinping's first promoted general. In December 2015, Wei became the first commander of the newly formed Rocket Force. In March 2018, Xi appointed Wei as state councillor and defense minister, elevating him to a vice national level until he was investigated on September 21st, 2023. Li Shangfu, who succeeded Wei Fenghe as defense minister and state councillor, was also personally promoted by Xi Jinping to the ranks of lieutenant general and general. However, Li was investigated and fell from power just 5 months into his term, making him the shortest-serving defense minister in the history of the CCP. Wang Juntao is a Chinese political observer based in the U.S. and holds a PhD in political science from Columbia University. He commented that Xi Jinping demands high loyalty to establish his dictatorship. The closer someone is to him, the stricter his loyalty.
I like the saturated image they're using here to show that something's bad image.
Requirements. Following the saying, being close to the emperor is like being near a tiger. Wang said Xi Jinping knew from the start that he had no real skills or achievements. He relies on the fear and absolute obedience of those beneath him to maintain his...
So this makes no sense, because anyone in China, if they want to be the president of the country, they have to work a lot. Xi Jinping is working as a politician for over 40 years. And one has to start in a small city, small count, and then climb up on the party ranks. That's how it works in China. In China, they would never have a Donald Trump, for example, outsider that comes and, hey, now I'm a president of the country. This will never happen. All the presidents of China, before Xi Jinping, Hu Jintao, Deng Xiaoping, all of them started from the bottom, working in small places, going to cities, and then being governors of provinces, like Xi Jinping was governor of Fujian, and then he was a secretary of the party in Shanghai, and then later he became president. That's how it works. So saying that he had no real skills or achievements is not true at all.
Rule. After Xi Jinping became the chairman of the Central Military Commission, the Chinese military publicly declared following Chairman Xi's command.
That's
However,
normal.
observers noted that the accusations against Li Shangfu and Wei Fenghe for seriously violating political discipline and resisting organizational scrutiny reflect strong resistance and obvious disobedience among senior military officials.
Well, of course, if they are leaking documents from China to the United States, yes, they are not following the party rules.
Towards Xi Jinping. According to public sources, since Xi Jinping assumed the role of the chairman of the Central Military Commission on November 2012, at least 91 senior military officers of the deputy army level or above have fallen.
Fallen, or Xi Jinping just removed the guys and put his guys? Because that's what any government does. In the United States, in Brazil, the new president will bring his guys. That's totally normal. Why would it be different in China?
Including 13 generals and 19 lieutenant generals. During tenure, he promoted 77 generals, of which 4 have fallen.
I like this. 4 have fallen. What that means? They were fired or what? What happened?
And 259 lieutenant generals, of which 11 have fallen.
If those news were in the United States, do you think they would use this word, have fallen, or they would say got fired or retired or whatever?
There's a clear list online, and netizens jokingly say that these imprisoned generals could form a battalion. The fallen generals include those promoted twice during Xi Jinping's tenure. Besides Li Shangfu, others promoted to lieutenant general and general during Xi's time include former Air Force Commander Ding Laihang and former Rocket Force Commander Zhou Yaning. Additionally, some were promoted twice during Xi's chairmanship, from Major General to Lieutenant General, including former Deputy Commander of the Central Theater Command, Li Zhizhong, and former Navy Commander of the Southern Theater Command, Zhu Xinchun. One of the founders of the CCP, Mao Zedong, once said, "Political power grows out of the barrel of a gun," and he emphasized the principle that the party commands the gun.
Yeah, because back in that day, China had to fight first against the colonizers and then to reunify the country and then internally in a civil war. So, of course, it was a completely different world than it is today.
The gun must never be allowed to command the party.
Course.
After the CCP...
Also, because the army belonged to the party, was the Communist Party army. Today is China army.
He gained power through armed force and maintained that the military should be a tool for preserving its regime, opposing the nationalization of the military. This principle has been upheld by every CCP leader from Mao Zedong to Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping, who currently holds immense power, is widely seen as ambitious but incapable of governing.
He's been in power since 2012, for 12 years. How come he's incapable of governing?
He has no military experience, lacks prestige within the military, and has no strong connection in the armed forces.
One of the reasons Xi Jinping became president is because when he was a Fujian governor, he got close to the Southeast Theater Command. Because Fujian is the province close to Taiwan. It's a very strong military area. The army there is very, very strong. So Xi Jinping had a huge support from these guys. So what she's saying doesn't match the reality.
To assert his authority and give his trusted allies a chance to rise to senior military positions, Xi launched a severe anti-corruption campaign targeting high-ranking military officials shortly after taking
That's
office.
good, right?
This campaign
Anti-corruption campaign is good, right?
led to the downfall of several powerful generals, including Xu Taiho, Guo Boxiong, Zhang Yang, and Fang Fenghui.
For you who's watching this video and doesn't know those guys, doesn't really matter, right? She can say whatever she wants. She can name those guys the way she wants. Doesn't really matter because we don't know those guys.
Xu Taiho and Guo Boxiong were both generals and former vice chairman of the Central Military Commission. They were key allies of former CCP leader Jiang Zemin. Both were ultimately sentenced to life imprisonment for corruption and bribery. Guo Boxiong, now 82, is still in prison, while Xu Taiho died of illness shortly after his conviction at the age of 71. In today's China, corruption is pervasive, and the military, which has not faced the trials of war and lives off the state's resources, is a major hotspot for corruption. The generals who end up in prison are ostensibly charged with corruption, but the underlying issue is often a lack of loyalty to Xi. Carl Schuster, former director of operations in the Joint Intelligence Center of the U.S. Pacific Command, told Voice of America that for Xi Jinping,
Voice of America is a propaganda agency from the United States. There is Voice of America, Radio Free Europe, and Radio Free Asia. Is state propaganda of the United States.
anti-corruption is a tool rather than an absolute principle. Schuster said, in China, there are two things to remember. Be careful about how corrupt you are and who you corrupt. The other thing is to be careful about what you say and do, but the most important thing is your enthusiasm for Xi Jinping's leadership. If you're not completely loyal to him, then corruption is important and he will find a way to get rid of you. As a dictator, Xi Jinping's political purges to secure absolute loyalty have historical roots. Xi is following in the footsteps of Stalin. During Stalin's reign in the Soviet Union, he launched a comprehensive purge in 1937 to eliminate all potential opposition and security threats within the military. The Great Purge nearly wiped out the officer ranks of the Soviet Red Army, with over 40,000 military officers.
Yes, it's very similar, right? She mentioned there's like 100 generals or lieutenant generals that were arrested for corruption or removed from their ranks. Stalin purged over 40,000. It's the same thing, right? And remember, Xi Jinping is in power for 12 years. Also, like 10 military officers per year, more or less.
Officers and political commissars purged, including 15,000 who were executed. Among those executed were 3 out of the 5 marshals, 3 out of the 4 first-rank Army Group commanders, with Shaposhnikov surviving and later becoming a marshal. Also executed were all 12 second-rank Army Group.
She's just making this correlation. So see how bad it is and see how bad China is. All this is communism, all is the same, and it's not the same. As I said, maybe 10, 12 per year in China.
Group commanders, 60 of the 67 corps commanders, 136 of the 199 division commanders, and 222 of the 397 brigade commanders. The Great Purge severely weakened the Soviet army, leading to a disastrous performance in the Soviet-Finnish War of 1939.
That's true.
It took the Red Army, despite its 900,000 troops, 4 months to force Finland, a country with a population of 3 million, to a ceasefire. Soviet casualties amounted to 500,000. This also emboldened Nazi Germany's military ambitions. Xi Jinping has been simultaneously purging high-ranking officials in the party, government.
Again, do you think they would use this word if it was in the United States, like United States is arresting generals for corruption, do you think they would say purging?
And military, while promoting his loyalists. However, due to his lack of charisma and competence, his efforts often backfire. In modern military confrontations, strategic ballistic missiles are a key indicator of military strength.
Yes.
After coming to power, Xi Jinping aimed to control and develop China's supreme military capabilities.
Yep.
Drawing from the Soviet experience, he established the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force in 2015.
And one of the main scientists of the rocket division in China was working in the United States. Once the Asia hate, China hate in the United States started, she moved back to China because she was afraid, and now she's working for the government behind. And she's behind all this fast evolution of the rocket division.
The main weapons of the rocket force include strategic ballistic missiles
Dongfang.
equipped with nuclear warheads and conventional warhead ballistic and cruise missiles, covering a range of short, medium, and intercontinental ballistic missiles, as well as long-range cruise missiles. Despite efforts over 10 years, the senior ranks of the rocket force have not fully submitted to his authority. From the second half of 2023, feeling a loyalty crisis, Xi launched a major purge within the military, including the rocket force. Within months, at least 15 high-ranking military officers and officials were purged.
Were purged. What that means? They were arrested, they were fired, they were moved somewhere else.
Many of those detained had served in the rocket force, including former commanders Li Yuchao and Zhou Yaning, former chief of staff and deputy commander Li Chuangang, former equipment department director Lu Hong, and former deputy commander Zhang Zhenzhong, who later became the deputy chief of staff of the Central Military Commission's Joint Staff Department. Other purged officials include former Air Force commander Ding Laihang, former South China Sea Fleet Equipment Department director, and Southern Theater Command deputy director and Navy commander Zhu Xingchen, as well as former National Defense University president and Central Military Commission Equipment Development Department deputy minister Zhang Yulin. Xi Jinping is regarded as the most powerful leader of the CCP since Mao Zedong.
Nah, since Deng Xiaoping, not since Mao Zedong.
He has declared his ambition to transform the PLA into a world-class modern military by 2027,
Yes, he did.
injecting billions of dollars in the military over the years to catch up with the United States in high-tech capabilities.
Yep.
Xi Jinping's core strategy for strengthening the military is to enhance the combat capabilities of the rocket force, which is crucial for his ambition to forcibly unify Taiwan. However, the rocket force has recently been embroiled in widespread corruption scandals, leading to a sweeping purge and replacement of its leadership.
So there is corruption. They find the people, the corruptors, arrest the guys, is purging. But there's no bias, right? There's no bias. Okay, I think that's enough. We already understood what's the message here.